Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining and welcome back. Our guest today is the one and only Dr. Marc Faber, the editor of the Gloom, Boom, and Doom Report. Welcome back, Dr. Faber.
Well, thank you very much for having me on your rapidly growing channel.
Thank you so
And I
much.
always remember you because of your chair.
Oh yeah, that's right. The fancy red chair.
Is this a racing car chair?
No, it's just for games. I had it a long time ago, but it's for playing games. Gaming
Oh, yeah,
chair.
fantastic.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming down and speaking to all of us in the silver, gold, and the financial community. First thing though, I wanted to talk to you about is what do you think about this big, beautiful bill that just got passed in America? A lot of people are talking about, the negatives, the what it'll do to the financial system, the pros, the cons. What are your thoughts?
Well, I don't see any positive in that bill. I think it will increase the deficit of the United States. And if you look at the reaction of the bond market when the bill was passed, the market didn't perceive it as, say, positive for interest rates to go down. You understand, Besant and Trump, both of them are money printers. They
Right.
want to print money. They want to deficit financing because they are populist. So they don't want to tell the people, look, you have to pay higher taxes for these services and those services. No, they prefer inflation.
Right.
And so my view is uh, the bill is actually a disaster, like everything Trump touches. That the best for him would be to play golf and stay on the golf course and let the economy work on its own. The only good thing that he does occasionally is to diminish the regulation in America. But otherwise, his interventions are very poor. And it's impossible for a man of his intellect or for anyone in the world to be a politician domestically and an economist and a central banker and at the same time have a feel for geopolitics, how to organize the world. And I don't think any country should organize the world because sooner or later you would have an evil leader that would organize it very badly. So my view is that he has a view of the world that he would be the best federal board, the reserve board chairman. He would be the best treasury secretary. He would be the best uh, ruler of America,
Right.
decide what people can do and how they should do it and so forth, and that he would be the best to organize an international order in the world.
Right.
But you can't be the best at everything. And he grossly overestimates his abilities. Grossly. I would have voted for him because the alternatives are simply not there. The
Right.
alternative is it's a complete disaster. I mean,
And a lot of people have said that, like, what are you going to do? Vote for Kamala or Trump? And a lot of people, like, you're right, would go the Trump route.
yes, there's no question. But we have to be aware that American politics, as other politics, is very complex because you have the existence of the deep state.
Right.
And whatever Trump may want to do, someone will come and, you know, hit him on his shoulder and say, look, you better do this way. That's the way we want it to be, and
Right.
so forth. And there's one man who wanted to do things actually the way a businessman would approach the whole issue of the budget and of government expenditures and so forth. Musk. But Trump was very soon against him because he would implement measures that would not be very good for Trump, for his electorate.
Hmm.
You understand? There's
Yeah,
all
yeah.
too many special interests. So to rule the United States is actually very difficult.
Yeah, because you have to please the deep state at the same time, look like or even help the people in America. But then, of course, there's special interests.
Yes, and Trump is actually a product of the deep state. That we should make a. We shouldn't think that he's independent. He's dependent on a lot of people, a lot,
Right.
including people in Israel.
Hello, my fellow silver and gold stacker. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the channel. Subscribe, please like the video, and also hit the notification bell. Keep stacking. Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, Dr. Faber, looking at silver and gold, there's a lot of new young investors who are following our community now. Yeah, how would you?
Finally, finally.
I know, finally. How would you? How should young investors approach portfolio diversification in gold and silver, or like just in general? What would you tell them to do while looking at gold and silver?
Well, I would tell someone young that the price of gold has, of course, gone up already a lot. When I started to work in 1970, you could buy an ounce of gold with $35, and now it's somewhere over $3,000. But I would also tell him the best way to look at it is that when you contemplate and you read and listen to central bankers and to government officials, you have to be brain damaged to trust these people.
Right.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And these are not trustworthy people. They are there essentially to look after themselves, that they keep the job, and that they can make some money out of it eventually. And in this situation, aside from making money in life, you and I, we are working and we make money and so forth. We want to preserve wealth. So a young person, I would tell him, look, do the same as I did. I bought every month in my life some gold. I tell the bank, buy this quantity of ounces of gold every month and just keep them aside because it will keep its value. Now, I do not dispute the fact that gold has gone up a lot recently in the last, say, 12 months or so, and that it could come down somewhat.
Right.
But if it actually, as a buyer of stocks and bonds and anything, you want to buy when things come down, actually, you understand? If we
Yeah.
start today and say, every month we're going to buy 1 ounce of gold, say, we are happy if the price would come down because then we can buy the ounce of gold at a lower price.
Right.
Now, I look at precious metals in terms of physical precious metals, which you hold somewhere in a safe deposit box at home or under your bed, or you dig a hole in the garden or whatever, and you put it there. And also in terms of mineral shares of mining companies. And I would build my portfolio of gold and precious metals mostly in physical form. But occasionally, like say at the turn of the year, the gold became very cheap. Gold shares became very cheap relative to the price of gold
Right.
and relative to the price of the S&P 500. Now, we also have three major precious metals, gold, silver, platinum. Platinum, and I wrote about this for the last 6 months, developed a special situation because as of 3 months ago, it was at the 122 years low against gold. In
Wow.
other words, with 1 ounce of gold, you bought more platinum than ever before in the last 122 years. And what happens with the price of gold? The price of gold moves, say, like this. And the price of platinum goes above the price of gold occasionally and is then at a discount to the price of gold. And now this discount is very wide. Say the price of gold was, as of 2 months ago, more than 3 times the price of platinum.
Right.
And my view is that within 12 months or 18 months, we will see platinum selling at a premium to gold.
Wow.
The platinum goes, it's in sort of a rocket mode, going up vertically.
Right. And
So I think that is an opportunity. I would call this actually a life opportunity. You buy something, it has a big upside potential and limited risk.
that would be
Say today you buy around $1,400. I think it may drop to, yeah, I'm not, no, I don't think it will, but it could drop to say back to around 1,000.
right.
But at the same time, my view would be it's been there before. It could go to twice the price of gold. I'm not, I'm not projecting that, but I think it will go back to the price of gold.
Wow. Wow, that's a
Go
huge
above
opportunity.
$3,000.
Welcome to the Cayman Islands, a premier offshore jurisdiction where natural beauty meets financial stability. Here, your wealth is more than secure. It thrives in one of the most trusted and respected financial centers in the world. For over a decade, SWP has been the trusted choice for precious metal investors worldwide. Our purpose-built 6,000 square foot facility sets a new standard in precious metals storage. We are proud to be one of the only vault operators approved by the London Bullion Market Association. Beyond safeguarding your assets, we're committed to making a difference in our community by supporting local causes and events that reflect our values. As we continue to expand and innovate our services, we ensure that your wealth is safe and strategically positioned to shield you from the uncertainties that lie ahead. Strategic wealth preservation, trusted today and ready for tomorrow.
Yeah, that'd be a huge opportunity for anyone right now to take a look at
Yes,
platinum.
yes, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, Besant, who is the Treasury Secretary, instead of talking all the time, I don't understand why the US Treasury doesn't buy all the supply of platinum. The price would go ballistic. They could make a huge profit.
Yeah.
But no, he thinks and Trump believe that they can influence interest rates. Nonsense. The market will influence interest rates. And the market is determined by the rate of inflation and by monetary policies and many different factors.
Do you think the
The
interest rate?
problem with these people, these politicians, they're all interventionists. And we say, in my economic theory or ideology, we don't want interventions. We want a free market.
Absolutely.
Free market has proven to be more useful than the planning economy of the communists, socialists, and fascists. But this is a mixture. Trump and Besant and all these characters are extreme interventionists because they think they're smart.
Yeah, no,
Just because someone was working for a hedge fund doesn't make him smart.
yeah, absolutely. You nailed it, Dr. Faber. You would want a free market because a free market is what will help the economy grow in a healthy state.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't want tariffs.
Yeah.
I mean, the tariffs. is an absurd thing, completely absurd.
Why? Why do you think that?
Well, first of all, I'm not saying that I would put a lot of faith in economies, but when I had studied financial policy and taxes, issues relating to taxation. And I wrote my thesis, my doctoral thesis for the PhD about the economic and financial reform of Robert Peel in 1842, where he repealed the Corn Laws and the Navigation Act and implemented essentially free trade under the influence of the free traders that were mostly Scottish people. Anyway, uh, I think history has well documented that free trade is actually, in general, beneficial for everybody,
Yeah,
and that tariffs are negative, and it leads to a tariff is nothing else than a tax. But
absolutely.
it's an unfair tax because, like well-to-do people, they can have their private planes registered in the Bahamas or in Bermuda or wherever, or Cayman Island, so they don't pay tax on these items. Or they can have properties overseas and so on. So the tax is very unfair, and it touches the lower middle class, the poor people, and the middle class the most, and the rich people the least.
Right.
Uh, yes, the rich people they drink cognac and so forth, which they import, and fine wines. But the middle class also drinks these things when they go to the pub or so, and then they hurt more. In any way, free trade has led to countries talking to each other. They're trade links like you have friends or so, they're maybe in Africa or in Asia, and you start a trade relationship. A lot of it is built on trust.
Yeah, absolutely.
And free trade leads to peace, and protectionism is a war measure. You understand? It leads to international tensions. So that's why I say it's very negative, and it leads to more inflation. That without any question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you there. Like you have to have free trade because if you don't have free trade, then yeah, nobody wants a controlled economy because things will just get worse and worse.
And the worst part of it, the analysis by the Trump team of why the US has a trade deficit is completely wrong. The US is not suffering because Chinese can produce goods cheaper in their factories. But if they can produce them cheaper in their factories, then it's wonderful that they do that. It's wonderful. The US can then buy goods at a lower price than they would have otherwise bought them. But actually, the competitiveness of many countries that have a trade surplus with the US arises because they are more productive and they developed industries that are of superior quality than the US.
Right.
That is the main reason for the trade deficit, that the US has too many regulation in their country, so they can't produce efficiently and at low cost. It's not possible.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Now, Dr. Faber, before you go, I really want you to, give your last piece of advice for the youth or just anyone looking at this channel who are stuck with, they're stuck with financial burdens, or not even that, they're looking at their purchasing power of their dollar and it keeps going down, and they want to save or invest. What would be your simple advice for them? Before you go.
Well, when I grew up in the 1950s, what was safe was to have a bank deposit. 3 months deposit or 6 months or a call deposit and so forth. That is no longer safe because it appears to me that the rate of cost of living increases, commonly called inflation. But we have to be very careful with the word inflation because if your house goes up in value, the journalists and the media and the politicians will call it the bull market in home prices because favorable fundamentals.
Right.
But an increase in the price of houses is an increase in essentially assets and is a symptom of inflation as well. Just as when you go to the grocery shop and prices for your groceries are going up, this is also a symptom of inflation. And
Right.
when stocks go up, it's also a symptom of inflation. So that we have to be careful with the usage of inflation. But I can say that at the present time, uh, the rate of cost of living increases, yours and everybody who lives in New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco, is in general higher than the salary increases. So the standards of living in America, that I can say also of Europe, in good conscience, the standard of living of the typical household, of the typical family, has been going down for the last 20 years. There's no question about this.
Right.
At least I can say that in Asia and in other emerging economies, if I look at, say, Russia, if I look at Hungary, Czech Republic, before the fall of the Berlin Wall, before they turned capitalist market economy. Since then, the standards of living of all these countries that went from communism, socialism, into the market economy and capitalism, in all cases, the standards of living have gone up. In all cases. There's
Right.
not one case where it's went down. So the point I want to make to young people is, first of all, don't let the government do more things. You have to take responsibility of your life and you have to work and so forth. And then you will achieve freedom and you will achieve a higher level of prosperity. But in order to store your wealth, you cannot own just cash. That is a mistake. You have to own some shares and some real estate. And if you want something very liquid, then I would own some precious metals.
Yeah. No,
That
absolutely.
I can go anywhere in the world and walk into a shop and sell my gold.
Yeah.
Now, the young people will tell you, yeah, I can do the same with Bitcoins. Yes, it's true. They can do that. But what about if the internet one day doesn't work?
Right.
You understand?
Right.
And quantum computing may change a little bit the outlook for cryptocurrencies because at some stage, maybe there are new technologies and so on. So, in essence, what I want to say, for the last 7,000 years, gold has been a store of value. I admit it can be stolen and you can be knocked off and so forth. All these things can happen. But I personally, and I have an experience now, I'm soon 80, I can say that I have never regretted to own some gold.
Right. Yeah, no,
You
it's
don't have to put all your money in gold, but you can put, say, 20% or 10% or 30%, whatever.
yeah, no, it's beautiful advice. I'm with you 100% because you got to put some diversification, whether it's in shares and precious metals, and you don't want to have it all in cash because you never know what can happen. But Dr. Faber, I want to thank you so much for coming down to speaking to the silver and the gold community. Seriously, it's such a huge pleasure having you come on. And I'm going to put your links in the description below for your website so people can follow it. I highly recommend everyone to go follow Dr. Faber's website and his work. And again, thank you so much, Dr. Faber, for coming to speak to
Well, thank you for your confidence. I,
everyone.
I'm less confident, but I think we should realize interventions are very bad because you and I and anybody else, they don't know how the world will look like in 5 years' time. You understand?
Right.
Big changes are occurring now, and I think the best to survive these changes, uh, and I'm speaking relatively compared to other people, is to be diversified and be patient and prudent. Prudent. Don't over speculate. I don't know many people who have become rich overnight.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. Again, thank you so much, Dr. Faber, for coming on. And as the market develops in the future, I would really love to have you back on in the future.
Well, thank you very much. Bye bye.
Talk to you
Take
soon.
care.